in the last class we talked about the ileum, or हमारे पास ileum क्या होता है? Ileum is the part of the small intestine that's concerned with absorption. Again, by the time the duodenum or the jejunum ends, duodenum से लेके jejunum तक हमारे पास digestion होती रहती है, and by the time the jejunum ends, what happens is the digestion stops. उसके आगे digestion नहीं हो सकती, उसके आगे हमारे पास क्या होगी? Absorption होगी. Now, in the ileum, we have these tissues, these finger-like projections that comes out, surrounded by the blood vessels and the lymphatic vessels. These tissues are called as villi. On the cells of the villi, there are microscopic finger-like projections, which are called as the microvilli. What do? They both of the villi and the microvilli together, they increase the surface area to volume ratio for absorption. ठीक है. अच्छा, फिर हमने बात करी थी कि भाई हमारे पास विलाई स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन में से थ्रू द विलाई fructose, galactose, amino acids, they move into the blood vessels by diffusion, or are absorbed into the blood vessels via diffusion, while the glucose molecules move in by the process of active transport. The fatty acid and glycerol move into the lactates because they're insoluble in water. फिर दूसरी बात हम लोगों ने क्या करी थी कि भाई क्योंकि हमारे पास whenever the glucose, all of the solutes are going to go into the blood, the water potential of the blood is going to decrease. Why is the water potential of the blood going to decrease? Is because there are solutes entering it. ठीक है? Okay. Now, so about 60% हम लोग यहाँ लिख भी लेते हैं कि भाई मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द वाटर कितना ट्रांसपोर्ट होता है, कितना रीअब्सॉर्ब हो रहा है वाटर. इट्स अबाउट 60%. ठीक है. 40% किधर होगा? इन द लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन. नाउ फिर हम लोगों ने आखिरी बात क्या करी थी कि भाई once all of these things are absorbed, what happens is there is a vessel, a vein that connects the small intestine to the liver, and that vein is called as hepatic portal vein. ठीक है. अच्छा, in the liver, once all of these assimilate क्या होता है? Anything that can be used for assimilation, once they move in, what happens is the process of assimilation starts. What is assimilation? To make use of the absorbed substances, right? So now, if we will talk about assimilation, what we'll do is assimilation किधर होती है? Majorly ये liver के अंदर हो रही है. It's occurring in the rest of the body as well. ठीक है. अब assimilation में होता क्या है? इसको देखो. So what we'll do is we'll draw a large square. We'll draw ourselves a large डब्बा एक तरीके से, and that डब्बा will indicate what? It will indicate the liver. ठीक है. Eight rice in the complete under duodenum, will they will they be what? Disintegrated by the HCl, not only by the HCl, but yes, by the churning effect as well. So they're not going to get out of the body as rice only. Mipsam, let's stick to things that are like, practical. अगर starch होगा तो churning effect नहीं, churning का मतलब क्या था? When the stomach was constantly carrying out peristalsis, right? Mixing, yes. अच्छा, खैर. अच्छा, इसके अलावा we can have the rest of the body, right? And we can have the adipose tissue अलग से. ठीक है. और हम लोग क्या करते हैं? यहाँ पर एक किडनी भी बनाता है, right? So I'm drawing all of this. We'll get to know this in a minute. अब देखिए हो क्या रहा है. मेरे पास लिवर से एक ब्लड वेसल आ रही है, लिवर के पास एक ब्लड वेसल आ रही है, right? Now this blood vessel that we have, let's say, breaks down into two. ये मैं इसको दो में break down कर रहा हूँ. I'll tell you why. ठीक है. ये मेरे पास कौन सी वाली ब्लड वेसल है? दिस इज द हिपैटिक पोर्टल वेन। ठीक है। अच्छा, हिपैटिक पोर्टल वेन से लिवर के पास क्या आएगा? ऑल द वाटर सॉल्युबल सब्सटेंसेस। इसके साथ साथ मेरे पास लिवर के अंदर एक लेक्टिल भी आ रही है, right? So this is a lactile depositing all of its contents right here. This is the hepatic portal vein, or a branch of the hepatic portal vein depositing whatever it's carrying. ठीक है। जरूरी नहीं कि बाइफरकेट करो, मैंने बस ऐसे ही समझाने के लिए कर दिया। ठीक है। अच्छा, now what happens is, let's talk about the carb metabolism or the assimilation of the carbohydrates first. So what happens is, हमारे पास carbohydrate breakdown के लिए the very first thing that we have, or the assimilation के लिए, not breakdown, we have glucose, fructose and galactose that are, that are absorbed. मोस्टली मेरी बॉडी के अंदर गैलेक्टोज और फ्रक्टोज का इतना काम नहीं है। सो दीज both of the galactose molecules and the fructose molecules are converted into glucose। ठीक है। In the exam you're not expected to know कि भाई galactose का function क्या है। In the exam you're not expected to know हमारे पास fructose का function क्या है। ठीक है। What we are supposed, हाइड्रोलिसिस क्यों होगा भाई? हाइड्रोलिसिस कैसे आ गया मैं? हाइड्रोलिसिस द ब्रेक डाउन ना, तो फ्रक्टोस और गैलेक्टोस ब्रेक डाउन होंगे। डोंट all three of them, aren't all three of them monomers, and aren't all three of them have or don't they have the same formula? तो ये तो सिंपल कन्वर्जन हो रही है ना, सिंपल कन्वर्जन हो रही है बेटे। ठीक है, इट्स ओके। अच्छा, अब हमारे पास क्या होता है? दिस ग्लूकोस बाय द लिवर, राइट, and by the rest of the body, by the liver and by the rest of the body, is used for the process of respiration। ठीक है। तो ये जो ग्लूकोज होगा, by the liver and by the rest of the body, it would be used for the process of respiration। ठीक है। अगर 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 ये ग्लूकोज हमारे पास किस में हुआ? एक्सिस के अंदर हुआ। In the liver, excess glucose will be condensed and stored as what? And it's going to be stored as glycogen, right? ये excess glucose हमारे पास और किधर जाएगा? This is also going to go into the skeletal muscles, right? This excess glucose in the liver and in the skeletal muscles, it's going to be stored as what? Glycogen। बात समझ में आ रही है? ठीक है। If you would go back up when we were talking about the polysaccharides, तो हमने क्या कहा था भाई? हमारे पास जो polysaccharides होते हैं in animals, in the humans, ये हमारे पास किधर स्टोर होता है ग्लाइकोजन? लिवर और मसल्स के अंदर, राइट? कौन से वाले मसल्स? the voluntary muscles, which are what? Which are the skeletal muscles। Do we get it? यहाँ तक बात समझ में आ रही है मेरे बच्चों? इजी स्टफ। शिवरिंग के लिए ग्लूकोज जो भी होगा बेटे, if it's there through the blood, that's going to be used for respiration. If glycogen is going to be there, glycogen is going to be broken down and it's going to be stored, or it's going to be used as glucose for respiration while we are shivering। ठीक है? Make sense? uh Adrenaline is shivering again, कोल्ड के अंदर भी हो सकता है, बिकॉज ग्लूकोज इज रिस्पायर्ड ऑल द टाइम। कोई भी एक्टिव प्रोसेस होगा, तुम्हारी बॉडी क्या रिस्पायर कर रही होगी मुनीसा? ग्लूकोज। मेक सेंस बेटे? ऑल राइट, नाउ नाउ, तो ये बात हो गई हमारे पास कार्बोहाइड्रेट मेटाबॉलिज्म की। व्हाटएवर द मोनोसैकराइड्स दैट वी हैव, the fructose, the galactose, ultimately they're converted into glucose। This glucose again एक ही काम कर सकते हैं मेरी बॉडी के अंदर। It can be carried, it can be used for respiration, not only by the liver cells but by the rest of the body, and by the rest of the body I mean rest of the body। ठीक है, especially the brain। Acha. So if it's going to be in excess, it's going to be converted into glycogen. Mustafa, ये तो मुझे बताओगे कि why we don't only consume glucose, right? This is something that you guys should be telling me. अच्छा जी, अब इसको देखो. अब the second thing that we have are what? Fatty acids and glycerol. ठीक है? These fatty acids and glycerol by the liver and by the rest of the body will be used to make the cell membranes, right? Will be used to make the steroids, will be used to make cholesterol molecules. Similarly, agar if fatty acid or glycerol, if they are going to be in excess, they are going to be stored by the liver and by the adipose tissue, as what? As lipids. ठीक है? So एक reason तुम लोगों को ये मिल गया कि why don't we only consume glucose is because we also need lipids. We also need to consume lipids so that we can make our own we can make our cell membranes, our cholesterol molecules, the sebum in the skin, right? Makes sense. We can say that that's one of the reasons why they appear fat. ठीक है? Not only in the adipose tissue, but adipose tissue सिर्फ liver में नहीं होता, over the liver नहीं होता, under the skin भी होता है. ठीक है? Or it's also present around the kidneys as well. ठीक है? Now. अच्छा जी. Okay. All right. They're stored in the adipose tissues. Yes, मेरा बेटा. ठीक है? अच्छा जी. Now, the last thing that we have are what? Are the amino acids. And again, these amino acids by the liver and by the rest of the body will be used to make what? Proteins. By the liver and by the rest of the body, they will be used to make what? Proteins. ठीक है? Agar, if these amino acids are in excess, तो फिर मेरी बॉडी इनको स्टोर नहीं कर सकती. देन माई बॉडी कैन नॉट स्टोर देम. ठीक है? अच्छा. These excess amino acids undergo a process that we call as deamination. These excess amino acids, they undergo a process that we call as deamination. And through deamination, what substance is produced? A yellow colored substance called as urea. ठीक है? So yellow colored substance is produced that we call as urea. Now this urea from the liver goes where? It goes towards your kidneys, right? So all of this urea is brought to what? The kidneys, which take it out of the body as what? As the urine. ठीक है? All right. हाँ, the NH3 group is removed. Remove नहीं होता, NH2 group is removed. Wasted नहीं होता. Some of it is you converted into glucose for respiration, Tanisha, while the rest is convert. इसका जो amine group होता है ना, basically वो urea में convert होता है. And Bipsam, where is adipose tissue located? Again, this is something that you should be telling me, not the other way around. खैर. So again, एक बार जल्दी से इसको देख लेते हैं. It is not as complicated as it looks. It's very easy. So let's talk about the carbohydrates first. Our कौन से carbohydrates absorb हुए हैं? The fructose, the galactose, and glucose molecules, right? So fructose and galactose are converted into what? Into glucose molecules, which by the liver and by the rest of the body are used for the process of what? Respiration. If we're going to have any excess glucose, it's going to be stored, converted, and stored as what? As glycogen in two places in our body, in the liver and in the skeletal. किधर के skeletal muscles मेरे? ये रहे. And in the skeletal muscles, right? यहाँ तक हमारे पास glucose carbohydrate metabolism complete हो गया. Then what we have are the fatty acids and cholesterol molecules. These fatty acid and cholesterol molecules are used to make cell membranes. They can go to the skin and make sebum. They are used to make the fat soluble hormones. They're used to make fat soluble vitamins in some organisms in some mammals. Uh, they can be used to make cholesterol molecules, right? If they are going to be in excess in the liver and in the adipose tissue, they're going to be converted and stored as what? As lipids. Easy? यहाँ तक बात याद रहेगी? All right. अब आखिरी चीज हमारे पास क्या आ गई? आखिरी चीज हमारे पास आ गई amino acids. These amino acids are used to make my proteins. ठीक है? Are used to make our proteins. For example, the very same amino acids that I've eaten, the proteins that I've eaten are going to be broken down into amino acids, and then those amino acids by the rest of the body can be used for different processes. For example, agar wo skin mein gaye, they can, make up the hair, they can make up melanin. If they are going to go into the pancreas again, wo pancreatic enzymes bana denge, right? They can go into the bone marrow cells where they would be used to make hemoglobin. ठीक? They're going to go into the white blood cells so that they can make their antibodies. So if they would be in excess, they would undergo a process. Zero fat तो नहीं हो सकता, लेकिन हाँ, close to that. Yes, that is true. ठीक है. So what happens is the excess amino acids undergo a process called as deamination, which convert this into urea. ठीक है. The excess amino acids convert into urea and are sent where? They are sent into the kidneys, which are going to take them out of the body as urine. Okay? Liver is a very hard-working organ. Okay? In the adipose tissue is found at three places: over the kidneys, over the liver, and under the skin. They're not going to be digested. They're going to get out of the body very painfully in the poop. ठीक है. नहीं, amine group is toxic एक तरीके से. हाँ, in excess amino acids only. ठीक है. In excess amino acids only. ठीक है भाई. Now, so this was what? Assimilation. दूसरी बात याद रखिएगा, if the examiner ever says कि ये glucose, fructose, galactose, fatty acid, glycerol, amino acids, if they are undergoing the process of assimilation, they're being used, right, by the liver and by the other parts of the body as well. So ये सिर्फ liver में इस्तेमाल नहीं हो रहे, they're being used by other parts of the body as well. Majorly जो उनके ऊपर काम कर रहा है वो कौन कर रहा है? वो liver कर रहा है. They're being first transported towards liver. ठीक है. So सबसे ज्यादा जो मेरे पास ग्लूकोज होगा, ऑब्वियसली वो हेपेटिक पोर्टल वेन से किधर जा रहा होगा? इनटू द लिवर जा रहा होगा एक तरीके से. खैर, बताना मैं ये चाह रहा हूँ, एनीथिंग that is used for assimilation can also be called as an assimilate. ठीक है. So what's assimilate? Anything that can be used for assimilation. ठीक है. Anything that can be used for the different chemical reactions of the body. Right? Do we get this? यहाँ तक कोई मसला? जी मैम. Assimilates. What are assimilates? Substances absorb nutrients that can undergo assimilation. ठीक है, मेक सेंस? यहाँ तो कोई मसला? ओके, नहीं ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है एग्जाम. ऑल राइट. Now that we're done with assimilation, let's move on with the last part of the alimentary canal, and that's the large intestines. The different parts of the large intestines are also called as colon. Again, मेरे पास digestion when started in the duodenum, and जब duodenum से हो रही थी, it started all the way from the duodenum till the end of jejunum, उसके बाद digestion नहीं होगी, right? Up. So if digestion has stopped before we reach the large intestine, तो large intestine का काम भी digestion नहीं होगा. Large intestine का काम क्या है? अरे नहीं, स्मॉल इंटेस्टिन से लिवर में वो सारी चीजें जा रही हैं लाइबा जो कि एब्जॉर्ब हो चुकी हैं. Anything that is not going to be absorbed is going to go where? Is going to go where? Into the large intestine. Make sense? अच्छा, इसका काम क्या है? It's concerned with two things. It's concerned with absorption of water and mineral ions. ठीक है? अभी तक स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन से 60% वाटर मॉलिक्यूल्स एब्जॉर्ब हुए थे, for बाकी के 40% नहीं हुए थे. उन 40% के अंदर, या that 40% of water molecules also have to be absorbed. Like, if we would talk about poop, the poop is technically dry, it's not watery, so most of the water has been absorbed. After small intestine, all the absorbed substances are used in the body. ठीक है? जो जो चीज absorb नहीं हो पाई, it's going to move towards a small large intestine. ठीक है जी. अच्छा, अब अगर हम लोग देखें तो लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन के भी एक तरीके से तीन पार्ट्स होते हैं, and all three of them are called as colons. So let's say it starts from here, and the other part goes like this. Now, when they're ending, this colon forms into a pouch. This colon, it forms into a pouch. Right? And this pouch that we have is called as the rectum, or is rectum say. The food then finally gets out of the body through the anus or the anal cavity. And here we have the rectum. ठीक है, rectum क्या करता है? It basically stores the feces. So we'll write it here somewhere. By this rectum, it stores the feces. All right. अच्छा, अब एक बात याद रखिए. Again, all of the tissues that we have, they're surrounded by blood vessels like this. Right? अब हम लोग क्या कह रहे हैं? We're not going to draw the blood vessels like this. हम blood vessels को बाहर बना देते हैं. So let's say like जिस तरीके से हमारे पास एक कोलोन मूव कर रहा है, तो हमारे पास उसके अराउंड एक ब्लड वेसल का नेटवर्क भी मूव कर रहा है. All right. अच्छा. So what do we have right here in red? We have the blood capillaries, we have the blood vessels. अच्छा, अब मैं इस कोलोन के अंदर तीन चीजें बनाऊंगा. The thing that I'm drawing in this color, it's going to be what? It's going to be water molecules. The red dots are going to represent mineral ions, while anything that is going to be in black is going to represent what? 5. ठीक है. अच्छा, अब इसको देखो. वो पार्ट ऑफ द स्मॉल इंटेस्ट लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन जो ऊपर की तरफ मूव कर रहा है, इसको अगेन वील हैव थ्री कोलॉन्स, one moving upwards, one moving sideways, and the last one moving downwards, right? जो ऊपर जाने वाला होगा, which is going to, through again peristalsis, is going taking the food up, that will be called as the ascending colon. जो horizontally run कर रहा है, जो transversely run कर रहा है, उससे हम लोग कहेंगे transverse colon, right? और जो नीचे वाला होगा वो कौन सा वाला होगा? Descending. ठीक है। अब अगर मैं इनिशियली देखूं, so it's going to have that 40% water molecules, right? But as we'll be going towards the descending colon, तो हमारे पास ये water molecules कम होते जा रहे हैं, ठीक है, पहली बात। Along with, so again, these light blue dots are representing water. फिर इसी तरीके से हमारे पास इनिशियली मिनरल आयंस ही बहुत ज्यादा होंगे, right? But as we're going to go from the ascending colon towards the descending colon, इन मिनरल आयंस की कंसेंट्रेशन भी क्या होती जा रही है? कम होती जा रही है। और इनिशियली मैं क्या देख रहा हूँ, मेरे पास जो फाइबर है वो छोटे छोटे पीसेस के अंदर है। जितना वाटर कम होते जा रहा है, हमारे पास उस फाइबर के जो पीसेस हैं वो क्या होते जा रहे हैं? दे गेटिंग बिगर, राइट? अच्छा, अब देखो होता क्या है, अब देखो होता क्या है। Let's have a look at our blood vessels here. These blood vessels throughout have a high concentration, have a high concentration of mineral ions. These blood vessels they already have a higher concentration of mineral ions, right? तो अगर मेरे पास कंपेयर टू द लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन, अगर ब्लड वेसल्स में आयन की कंसेंट्रेशन ज्यादा हो गई, सो कंपेयर टू द ब्लड वेसल्स, मेरे पास लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन के अंदर आयंस की कंसेंट्रेशन क्या हो जाएगी? कम हो जाएगी। we're making comparison, right? So the blood vessels have a higher concentration of mineral ions, the large intestines are going to have a lower concentration, ठीक है? These mineral ions are going to move from the large intestine into the blood from a region of low concentration towards a region of high concentration by the process of what, मेरे बच्चों? हाँ भाई, active transport. Very good, Manahil. Very good, Mipsal. Very good, Taisha. Right? Active transport. Osmosis से water molecules करते हैं. Very good, Daiba. So these mineral ions would be absorbed from the large intestine into the blood vessels through active transport, right? अच्छा, अब मुझे एक बात ही बताओ. We know that mineral ions, since again they're moving along with water, they are soluble. They act as solutes. ठीक है? So mineral ions are soluble. So if the solutes are moving from the large intestine into the blood vessels, what will happen to the water potential of the blood vessels? Yep, they can't. हाँ जी। दोबारा सुनो सवाल को, दोबारा सुनो सवाल को, सवाल को दोबारा सुनो। If the mineral ions are moving from the large intestine into the blood vessels, what will happen to the water potential of the blood vessels? What will happen to the water potential of the blood vessels? Solutes जहां आ रहे होंगे, very good guys, very good. ब्लड वेसल्स के अंदर वाटर पोटेंशियल क्या हो जाएगा, कम हो जाएगा। वेरी गुड आयशा बेटो, वेरी गुड एवरीवन एल्स। सो द वाटर पोटेंशियल ऑफ द ब्लड वेसल्स डिक्रीजेस। अगर ब्लड वेसल का वाटर पोटेंशियल कम हो रहा है क्योंकि उसके अंदर आयंस आ रहे हैं, तो लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन से तो आयंस जा रहे हैं, राइट? तो लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन का वाटर पोटेंशियल क्या हो जाएगा? द वाटर पोटेंशियल ऑफ द लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन इज गोइंग टू इंक्रीज. So the water molecules are going to follow the mineral ions from the large intestine, from a region of higher water potential into the blood vessels towards a region of lower water potential by the process of osmosis, and obviously through the partially permeable membrane as well. ठीक है? Very good, very good. Make sense, guys? यहाँ तक बात समझ में आ रही है? ठीक है। और इसी तरीके से जो हमारे पास रिमेनिंग 40% वाटर था ना, जो स्मॉल इंटेस्टाइन के अंदर एब्जॉर्ब नहीं हुआ था, वो सारा का सारा हमारे पास एब्जॉर्ब हो रहा। ठीक है। अच्छा, you know what happens is sometimes when I do the dishes, so I have this no, the colon does not, it's wavy लेकिन विलाई नहीं होता उस। अच्छा, अब होता हमारे पास क्या, होता हमारे पास क्या कि like let's say, let's say I had some biryani, अकेले अकेले, तुम लोगों को नहीं दी मैंने, मांगना ही मत, नहीं दूंगा। खैर, so let's say I was having biryani, and eating biryani is a very difficult process, right? You have to take out all the black peppers, काली मिर्चें जो गोल गोल होती हैं, लौंग निकालनी पड़ती है, uh, you have to take out the इलायची as well, right? कभी कभार उसके अंदर आलू बुखारा का सीड भी आ जाता है। ठीक है, वेरी कूल। Right, so it's eating biryani is a difficult process. You have to, take all of these things out. So let's say, while I eat it, so I just push them toward the side, and sometimes I just, put the plate in the sink. So मेरे sink का जो drain pipe है, उसके ऊपर it's an empty space, खाली है, and we have this grill type का एक, there's a small, what do we call it, a small bowl like structure, right, where anything that is not solid in water, anything that is large, वो collect हो जाता है. So you can take it out, throw whatever's collecting in the bin. So again, so what I'm trying to tell you is, let's say keep all that elaichi and all the garbage in the biryani, if it's going to go in a sink that's full of water, as long as the water is going to be there, everything is going to be scattered, right? Everything is going to be what? It's going to be scattered. आगे पीछे होगा। आ रहे हम आ रहे हैं उसके ऊपर, ठीक है, राइट? इट्स गोइंग टू बी फ्लोटिंग। लेकिन जितना वाटर ड्रेन से पास होता जाएगा, वॉट एवर द ट्रैश इज, वो क्या होता जाएगा, वो करीब करीब आते जाते, आके आके एकदम से इट्स गोइंग टू accumulate in that bowl in the drain, in that sieve in the drain, right? And then you can take the sieve out and just throw all of it in the bin. So again, इसको visualize करो, as long as the water is going to be there, it's going to be scattered, right? But as the water is going to be, let's say, it's going to drain, वो सारी चीजें क्या हो जाएंगी, करीब करीब आती रहेंगी। Make sense, right? And they're going to close the drain. Very good, Aisha. ठीक है। अब इसी तरीके से देखो, मेरे पास पहले जो फाइबर था, things that I could not digest, as long as the water was not absorbed, और water जब हल्का हल्का absorb हो रहा था, they were small and they were scattered. Fiber is sticky. वो the very same as we have dough, it sticks, physically stick हो जाता है। तो अब जितना वाटर कम होते जा रहा है, उतना हमारे पास ये जो फाइबर का मास है, ये बढ़ता जा रहा है, राइट? And ultimately, it's going to increase in size. It's going to convert into what we call as poop, right? Into feces. Fiber density, yes, for the fiber density increases near the end. ठीक है? अब ये फाइबर करता क्या है? So what's the deal with fiber? So if I were to talk about fiber, fiber के दो काम हैं. Number one, it softens the food, right? And hence the feces. उसके अलावा दूसरा काम क्या करता है? it gives bulk to the food. एक और चीज के साथ साथ हम लोग क्या ऐड करते हैं? Preventing the walls of large intestines from sticking to each other, right? Let me give an example. अब इसकी what do I mean by preventing the large intestines from sticking with each other? इसको देखो. हमारे पास how many of you here have had Capri Sun? Capri Sun किसी ने पिया है? You can like raise your hands if you don't want to type. It helps in digestion too, एक तरीके से. हाँ, again, that's how it gives the bulk. So Aisha has had Capri Sun. Who else? Mustafa has had it, right? So Capri Sun, for those who haven't, Tanisha has, Laiba has, so Laiba नहीं पिया. For those who haven't, it's basically your orange juice that comes in a pouch. It pouch के अंदर आता है. As long as the juice is going to be in the pouch, मैं उस pouch को squeeze भी करता हूँ, तो उसकी जो ends है ना वो आपस में चिपकते नहीं है, right? Let's take another example. हमारे पास एक पानी की बॉटल है. As long as it's going to be capped और उसके अंदर पानी होगा, मैं इसको squeeze करूंगा तो उसकी walls आपस में चिपकेंगी नहीं, right? But if I would take all the juice out, if I would take all the water out, और अगर मैं उसको squeeze करूंगा उस बॉटल को या उस कैप्री सन के पाउच को, तो उसकी जो walls होंगी वो आपस में stick करना शुरू हो जाएंगी, right? अब देखो, हम लोगों ने क्या बात करी थी कि peristalsis goes on all the way from the esophagus till where, till what point? Till the rectum. ठीक है. अब इनिशियली मेरे पास लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन के अंदर इनिशियली क्या मौजूद है? मेरे पास वाटर मौजूद है ना, राइट? लाइक द जूस इन दैट कैप्री सन वाला पाउच. अब जब ये पेरिस्टल्टिक वेव आ रही होगी, इसको पुश कर रही होगी ऊपर की तरफ, तो वाटर का क्योंकि थोड़ा बहुत यहाँ वी हैव सम अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर, सम अमाउंट ऑफ फाइबर राइट हियर, तो ये स्मॉल एंड लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन की वॉल्स अंदर की तरफ तो मूव कर रही होंगी, लेकिन वो एक पॉइंट के ऊपर आके सेपरेट होंगी, वो आके चिपकेंगी नहीं. दे नॉट गोइंग टू स्क्वीज लाइक दिस. ठीक है. अब बट एट द एंड्स हम लोग क्या देख रहे हैं कि हमारे पास वाटर की वॉल्यूम भी कम होती जा रही है बिकॉज इट्स रीअब्सॉर्ब. ठीक है. अगर 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 हाँ, नॉर्मल वाली साम, यस इट डज. अब फॉर एग्जांपल हमारी डाइट के अंदर फाइबर मॉलिक्यूल्स नहीं हो, ends के ऊपर what's keeping the walls of the large intestine apart are the fiber molecules or the fiber. ठीक है. अगर ये fiber नहीं होगा, what's going to happen? Now when the large intestines, because of peristalsis, they're going to contract, they're going to stick together. And if थोड़ा बहुत फाइबर होगा या वो accumulate हो रहा होगा, it won't be able to get out, या फिर it's going to take it's going to take more time for it to move away, move towards the rectum. When this condition happens, we say, when there is lack of fiber, we say that we suffer from what? We suffer from constipation, right? Cubs. Makes sense, right? Acha, what's the remedy for uh it depends on how quickly they're moving now. Completely हमारे पास Manahil, sorry, Laiba, it's not 100% efficient process. फीसिस भी completely dry नहीं होती है. अगर वो completely dry होगी, it's lined with mucus and some amount of water as well, right? Some of the water is also needed for easy passage of feces as well. खैर, बात ये है कि सवाल ये था कि if somebody has constipation, so what's the basic home remedy that we give them? If Sam said कि sir, eating foods with fiber, can you name one food with fiber? या फिर what do we do? ओके, गरम दूध और उसके अलावा घी विद मिल्क, ओके। फाइबर इनटेक, मिनाइल कैसे फाइबर इनटेक ज्यादा करेंगे? एप्पल्स, ओके। एनीथिंग मोर इजियर? Dude, I would just give them Espagol. Exactly. Right? Espagol. Yeah, jinx. खैर, Espagol होता क्या है? What is Espagol? What is Espagol? It's basically dried up fiber plants. बस कुछ वीट होता है, वीट वीट के जो एक्सटर्नल उसके जो कोटिंग होती है, द कार्टिलेज एंड द एंडोस्पर्म, टेस्ट था सॉरी, वो उसको ड्राई करके दे देते हैं। ठीक है। Espagol can be made up of apples as well, tree husk, exactly। ठीक है। उससे एसिडिटी वाले मसले हल होते हैं। खैर, सो वी आर बेसिकली गिविंग देम प्योर फाइबर, क्योंकि वो डाइजेस्ट तो नहीं होगा, लेकिन जब फाइबर मास बिल्डअप करता रहेगा, when the fiber is going to build up the mass, it's going to push open these walls, right? Make sense? ठीक है? And ultimately it's going to be collected as, or rather at, the rectum. Uh, when the rectum is going to be about 50% occupied or full, it's going to, it's going to get out of your body as feces. ठीक है? तो बस ये चीज थी। हम्म। But very less amount of water, like very insignificant amount of water। बिल्कुल। ठीक है। Let's hope you don't kill anyone, Tanisha। Okay, now, okay, so right, easy है। अच्छा, अब बस एक तो चीजें देखो। We're done with this chapter, but we talked about ulcers। हाँ, हम लोगों ने बात कर ली, ulcers प्रोड्यूस होते हैं। We talked about, did we talk about, yeah, we talked about dental caries as well। So technically we're done with this chapter। I hope you guys have a good day।